What's up, guys? Mindless again. Wanted to take a quick sec and show you a couple more pieces out of the collection. Cool ass maker today, guys. This is what we're looking at is some work from Frank Fischer, the son of kind of the legendary Todd Fischer, and a young guy that's really come out in the last few years and just knocked it out of the park. And the level of craftsmanship that he displays in his work is truly extraordinary for his age and his experience level actually making knives himself. But that's something I wanted to talk about today and kind of show you the pieces that I kind of pulled together to do the showcase on Frank Fischer. So let's start what we got. What's in front of us right now is, I guess we'll start right here. This is a very rare one-off battle in a carbon Damascus that Frank forged himself. And there's a kind of a cool story on this one, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. No pocket clip, just a gentleman's carry, but retains that, blade profile that made the battle model so popular. So that's this one right here. Next is the more traditional Frank Fischer battle, and this one is just gorgeous. Sanmai zipper Damascus, black and tie. Check out the pivot collar on this thing too. Like all Frank Fischer's, custom pivot. This one's rocking the Damascus pivot collar. And just so you know, Frank rarely uses Damascus. He's more of a Mokutai guy, but this piece came up and I actually loved it. And kind of a weird story we'll go over in just a sec. And then finally is my most recent one. And this was a direct build. I was on Frank's books for a while, and this is what I chose to build out. Boomerang, Mokutai, pivot collar, very intricate pivot. The center of that pivot collar is also Mokutai. You can see it. Sanmai, different than the other one. Beautiful work. I mean, really outstanding work. Bolster lock, split back spacer, which is something I chose. And again, the craftsmanship is just unbelievable. Look at that. I mean, amazing work. So these are the three pieces that I have from Frank. I'm really feel real fortunate to have them. But I wanted to share them with you because they're just rarely seen. You don't see battles come on the market too often for sale. Most of the guys that get them have gotten them directly from Frank, so there's kind of like an emotional attachment to it because you actually design it with Frank. And you come up, rather, not design, but you choose the materials and any of the specifics, speccing out the knife. So, like, this one was made for me. It's highly unlikely that I ever get rid of this piece. These two, on the other hand, I can't say that I will or I won't. Right now, I'm enjoying having all three in the collection, and they really represent what a maker can do when they put 100 hours into a knife or dozens and dozens of hours. So, let's talk about Frank. He's a young guy. Most people who have met him are, I think, initially shocked when I talk about how young he is. And he's been kind of under the radar. I think one of the first times he got real publicity was obviously when Skelton was guest bladed a knife from him, and then eventually got his own personal build from Frank. And since that time, it's been about a couple years, his books have been permanently closed. The weight right now is in the years, understandably. And you got to understand it just takes Frank a long time to make a piece like this. So he's I think right now Frank's about 31 years old, and really young guy. Got a really beautiful family. They're expecting another child here coming up in a few months. But really, he's only been making knives since about 2009. So it's been a minute, but not too long. The thing that makes him, I think, why he skyrocketed to the top is that his father is Todd Fischer. And many of you knife collectors will know the Archangel model, which the battle looks like an evolution of Todd's Archangel model, just way more aggressive. And, I was talking to Frank, and he was telling me that, growing up, he always was in his dad's shop. He always was learning, picking up skills, and then take it to another level. Their neighbor is Stan Wilson, one of the legendary makers of all time, famous for like the non-flipper and these amazing art knives, using gold and like very exotic materials, very expensive pieces with, you know, very multi-year weights for Stan Fischer, but Stan Wilson. But Todd Fischer and Stan Wilson both influenced Frank and taught him the skills to make a high quality knife. And then more than that, I think they instilled in him that pursuit for excellence. You know, if something's not right, don't let it leave your shop. And that is something that quickly kind of catapulted Frank up in the custom knife maker world. So around 2000 and, you know, in 2009 when he started making knives, Frank was working like as a journeyman in construction. He had a lot of experience with machinery and equipment. So transitioning into knife making was, you know, with the help of his father and his neighbor, kind of natural. And eventually around 2013, he went full-time. So he's only been a full-time knife maker for about 2 years. And he was doing it basically out of a 20-foot container that he put on his property. And those who have been to his shop, that old shop, know how small that was. So it's amazing that these pieces were coming out of basically a 20-foot container dropped on a piece of land in Florida. Recently, I'd say in the last like probably 4 or 5 months, Frank has taken possession of another property and now has a really full-size large shop where he can commit to making more and more pieces. What I think a lot of people don't realize is like Frank Fischer or makers at that level, when I asked Frank like on a good month, what can you put out? He said basically about two to three knives on a good month. So what you're looking at is a maker that maybe will put out between 20 and 30 knives per year. And going through the experience of building out this battle, I began to realize how much of a perfectionist Frank is. This original build, when he called me, basically started off something like this. I wanted a armor core Sanmai, which he does not do. He clarified with me, this looks like armored core, but it's actually XHP core. I wanted the blackened titanium, which he's kind of famous for, and then either Damascus or Mokutai inlay. And while I was waiting for that build, a strange set of circumstances arise. This piece became available in a trade with one of my buddies. And, you know, I knew I was getting this piece within a few months. And I thought, you know, I shouldn't buy a battle, especially spec like this, because the one I'm getting is like this. But, excuse me, I thought, you know what, I should get it. And if I don't want it, it's very easy to move a Frank Fischer battle. So I went ahead and executed the trade, picked up this battle. It's actually the first battle that I've owned, so I got a chance to learn and kind of understand the level that Frank's working at. And in the meantime, this was being built. Now, a day later, or a couple days after getting this, Frank posts on his Instagram a picture of a black and tie battle where the lock bar had broken. And basically, I see that and I'm like, oh no. I get a call. He says, hey, I overheated the lock bar to make, when they go for the black and tie, it's a very high heat treatment. And he told me, hey man, I got to redo the handles completely, and I'm going to redo the blade as well. So I'm basically starting from scratch and making a new knife. Are there any changes you want to do now? And I was like, oh, this is the universe talking to me. Basically, I told him, hey, I picked up a black and tie with Sanmai. Let's go, you know, like a polished Sanmai with the famous like Fischer orange peel, and just polished tie with a blued Mokutai. So what he chose was boomerang Sanmai, boomerang Mokutai, black and tie. Then the crazy thing is he sends me this email that has like 6 or 7 different pivots that he has designed. He lets me choose, and he says, how do you want to do? I mean, this is truly custom. The backspacer as well. He's like, I noticed you had that other battle. Would you like it to match as far as backspacers? So I said, yes. And there you can see the level of craftsmanship. I mean, it looks like an integral, but it's not, guys. I mean, it is amazing, amazing. And if you take a look at Jim Skelton's videos, he does a very good job of breaking down the knife. And basically, all I want to do is show you this piece for its rarity and how well it's executed. So anyway, I end up getting this piece. This is my ending build, and right before Christmas he calls me and says, it's done, I'm shipping. So stoked to have received this just a couple days before Christmas. This one's a little different. This one I saw in a buddy of mine's pocket at Blade 2015 in Atlanta, and many of you know who he is. I didn't clear with him being able to use his name, but we just call him Josh. A larger-than-life character, very well known on Instagram and the knife scene. But he actually was over at Frank's shop, and the story goes that this was sitting in a drawer, and he talked Frank into selling it to him. The story is from Frank was, this was starting out as an original full-size battle, and he forged this steel over at his dad's, this carbon Damascus, and in the grinding of it, he broke the tip off. So he didn't know, it was, in his mind, it was just junked. The great Stan Wilson saw it and discussed with him and said, hey, you know what, cut that off and make a smaller battle that you can carry as a gentleman. So they decided to go with no clip, no lanyard, just drop it in your pocket and go. And Josh was able to kind of get this out of Frank's desk, basically. And I told Josh at Blade, you know, hey man, if you ever want to get rid of that, but just for its rarity, I would love to take a crack at it. And right around Thanksgiving, I got a call from Josh. He said, hey, I'm thinking about moving the gentleman's battle. Are you interested? And I jumped on it right away. And now I have one of the most unique Fishers out there. Always, you can see this one is dressed to the nines. You can see we can get a focus here. Jeweling on the inside. He pantographed his name in here right on the outside. No custom pivot, but beautifully executed. And one of my favorites to carry. It's small, it disappears in the pocket, and definitely is a battle. So those are the three pieces. That's how I came across, adding them to my collection, and I'm stoked to have them here. To be honest, the one that I built is... obviously, it's exactly how I wanted it, so I'm stoked. What we're looking at, these two are the same size. It's basically a 3 3¾ inch blade with about an 8.5 inch overall length. And this one's a lot smaller. This is a 3-inch blade with about a 7-inch overall length. So stoked to have both of them. But the craftsmanship, guys, is unbelievable. I mean, even look at the pivots compared to one another. These are custom made, one-off style, beautifully executed, just gorgeous. Lock up on both, super early, and just absolutely perfect. Both are bolster locks, rather. So I gotta be careful with these guys. So Frank kind of gained notoriety as a true handmade knife maker, and he basically does the stock removal philosophy. That's what he believes in, but he does use CNC. He was very clear about that, to mill out the pockets for the inlays and mill out the pocket for where the pocket clip sits in. See, both these pieces are hidden hardware throughout. All you see is the pivot, and on the other side, no other hardware. Everything's screwed from the inside, and a lot of people know he's created his own tooling to reach in there and unscrew parts of the knife. So after he gets those CNCs, it comes back to his shop, and then everything is done by hand. He does not have any smart machinery. He wanted to, and I want to be clear that when he does CNC stuff, he actually programs the CNC. He does it all start to finish. He doesn't send it out to get cut. He does it himself. And he has a lot of pride in that, and I would as well. I mean, there is start to finish. He's the person that handles making the knife. Now, like I said in the beginning, this does look like an armor core Sanmai, which is hugely popular right now, but it's not. It's actually just a Sanmai with an XHP core that he's etched and not blackened. He's polished, and I think it looks stunning. I mean, the patterning is ridiculous. On this one, it's a very deep ridges. On this one, I asked him to go a little lighter and finer, and you can take a look at the ridges on this. Much tighter, much more beautiful in my opinion. And he decided to surface grind the flat, so it broke up the patterning, and I think that looks outstanding. Unbelievable work. Frank killing it, as usual. a lot of guys know too that, you know, Frank wasn't really on the going around in the knife show scene, and basically this past blade show was his first knife show or blade show at large, and he had huge success. He brought out this beautiful all black piece that went open bid for big money, and he actually shared a table with Stan Wilson. And I think quickly those who didn't know about Frank Fischer now absolutely do. And again, his books have been closed for a long time, a long time. But I think we should look at the knives a little bit more, starting with this one specifically. This is the one that I got in the trade with my buddy. And when Frank saw that I had it, he quickly remarked on the sound. And I guess this one has a very unique closing click, if you listen carefully. Very loud click. Double click on the open on the deployment. So just a very unique piece that he actually recalls specifically for the sound that it makes. Very comfortable in the hand. Just a gorgeous piece. Split backspacer titanium. And there's the bolster lock. Perfectly executed. When you compare it to this one, it's very different. The D10 on this is lighter. The closing and opening sounds are muted compared to this piece over here, but smoother. Much smoother. I don't know if Frank, you know, he spent probably 3 weeks just tuning the knife, opening and closing, till he told me that he wasn't happy the way it sounded, and he wasn't happy with the centering, so it took an additional like 3 weeks to get that dialed in. And the whole time he's sending me work in progress pictures, so it's a very fun experience to, you know, when you come up on Frank's books. But we went with the boomerang, and then, I mean, look at the pivot on this piece, you guys. It is unbelievable. The center post is actually Mokutai as well. Stunning. Just absolutely beautiful. Same on both sides. Beautiful. You can see the pattern on that center post a little better. Absolutely perfect. Literally perfect. You can see Frank's signature on the backspacer there. If I can get the light on it, which I can't. Anyway. But it's important to pay attention on Frank's knives to the actual finishing. Chamfered edges, polished all the way around, flush as hell. Like, you cannot feel anything on this, any transitions between the Mokutai and titanium. Beautifully executed backspacer and the gear pattern. And people say it feels like an integral, and it truly does. The craftsmanship is amazing, and that's what you need to pay attention when you handle a Frank Fischer battle. Look at the orange peel that he chooses to use. So fine. Absolutely a beautiful piece. And the smoothness. Perfect. Truly perfect. And I wanted to share these with you because it's rare that makers execute at this level. Truly. Honestly, Frank's only been doing it for a few years, but I would put him at, as far as craftsmanship, the level of like a Rexford. Obviously, he's been trained by two greats with Stan Wilson and Todd Fisher, so I'm sure he has a little unfair advantage on tips and tricks to execute at the highest level. But I mean, guys, this is just as beautiful as it gets, and I kind of wanted to show this to you. Today's the day after Christmas, and yesterday I was on YouTube while my family was over, and I was looking for videos, and I realized, dude, I need to make a video because everybody's taking breaks for the holidays, and I was tempted to do so as well, but I had to share these pieces with you ASAP. Absolutely beautiful. I've had this one for a few months. My piece was delivered about 2 weeks ago, so I've only had it for just a short period of time, but I carried it. I carried it yesterday to Christmas dinner at my family and showed it to some non-knifey people, and they were blown away by the level of the build quality and the feel in hand, guys. This is a wide knife. Look at the butt of that. And then this one, I actually carry. If you look at the blade, it's been used. You'll see scratching on the finish, but it's just gorgeous. It takes like a bluish purplish hue in the Damascus, And to know that Frank forged it himself is an extra treat. Take a look at the thumb stud. All handmade. There you see the orange peel again, and it's been anodized kind of like a very light purple hue and a little bit of gold in the middle. I don't know if you could see that. I'm messing with the light, but perfectly executed. On standoffs, beautiful lock bar shape. Gorgeous, with like a bronze anodized standoffs. Just beautifully executed knife. Ultra smooth. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. And this one is on washers, guys, not on bearings. So just a beautiful, beautiful piece. And I'm truly grateful to Josh for offering it up to me, because this is a great carry piece. You know, it's difficult. It's nerve-wracking to carry these two. This one, I don't know why. I'm willing to use it. I'm willing to cut with it. And I'm just stoked to have it in the collection. And guys, if you ever can, you know, if there's ever a show where Frank Fischer's there, or you go to a get-together and there's a couple battles available to kind of handle and examine, you need to do this. I can't really impress upon you guys the level of craftsmanship. It truly, truly is different. He is at, you know, Frank is at that Rexford level, and his knives are beginning to become recognized as being at that level, and the prices are reflecting that as well. Recently, I know Tri-City had a couple on there that went for, you know, big numbers, and shockingly big. And that being said, you know, direct from Frank, it's not cheap, but look what he allows you to do. Basically, anything I wanted, he would have done. And when you get that offer from a maker like Frank Fischer, you don't go for a micarta inlay with black tie. You go for the crazy stuff, just because you really want to push his knife making skills and see him execute with these exotic materials. And I was lucky enough to do so. And you know, Frank, I know you're probably watching. I really appreciate it, buddy. This knife is outstanding. Forgive the fingerprints, guys. I tried to Windex it, but I actually carried this piece today. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. We'll look at him one more time. I mean, look at the grind. So aggressive looking. Beautiful work. Just gorgeous work. The Mokutai backspacer looks sick. It almost looks like fingerprint pattern. Just beautiful. Beautiful. This one, famous for its sound. Very different looking with the black and tie and the blue and yellow. Fires super hard, guys. Beautiful work by Frank. And lastly, the Gentleman's Battle. Gorgeous. I mean, at the time he made this, he was like a 30-year-old guy forging his own Damascus. That's unbelievable, guys. Unbelievable work. Gorgeous. Super sharp. Razor sharp. All of these knives are razor blades. Frank is an avid outdoorsman, and you know, he wants to see his knives being used, even when they're in a dress configuration like this, and I can't blame him. They are outstanding, outstanding. And guys, I wanted to you know, share this with you. Thanks so much for supporting the channel and watching another video. If you have any questions about these or any of the past videos, please leave a comment. I really, honestly try to answer each and every comment below. If you dug it, throw me a like. I really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and turn on the notifications. You'll get a notification every time a new video pops up. I try to do one a week. And again, thank you guys for supporting the channel. These are 3 different battles from Frank Fischer. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Take it easy.